Welcome to the February meeting of the Commission on Aging. We were scheduled to have Kira Parrott here today, but she's not been able to make it. But we will have Bethany and Elizabeth. Hello, both of you guys. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Joining us to present on behalf of the library. But per our discussion, we will start with our minutes, which from the January minutes, does anybody have any questions or changes? Peter?
I do, Joe, and I'm going to give you a copy of this, but
Perfect.
I'd like to read them because it was fairly substantial compared to what we...
Totally.
This is for January 17th. Mr. Eder reported that the Darien Library is launching a monthly series of programs utilizing Udemy online videos. These are intended to bring adults together in an interactive environment. The first will be held on the 17th on the topic of the psychology of happiness. Future topics will include personal finances, home designs, and practicing mindfulness. Mr. Eder added that the library has underutilized equipment for persons with audio and visual challenges, and we need to get the word out to inform seniors of the resources available at the library. Mr. Eder spoke about developing programs focused on the topic of elder isolation and loneliness and the continuing creation of the Connecticut Collaborative on Loneliness. Mr. Eder reported that the IRS Tax Aid program is being launched Monday, January 22nd from 1 to 6 at the Darien Library. Tax aid availabilities at the library will continue on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays until April the 15th. The Darien Library site contains all the relevant information. AARP tax assistance will also be available at locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Greenwich, including an AARP site at the Stamford Library's Reed Branch on Hope Street, beginning Saturday, February the 3rd, from 10 to 1. Mr. Eder noted that the legislative session would run from February the 4th to May 8th, and that we need to reach out to state representatives and senators to make sure that our voices for elders are being heard.
Awesome.
So I would suggest that we put in...
Can I have that piece of paper and I can give it to our secretary as well? Thank you. Any other edits? Can you guys pass this down? Thank you so much. Yes, my friend. You have an edit as
Thanks,
well?
Tim.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Last month, we spoke about the relief on taxes. I'd just like to read over what I'd like the change to look like.
Yep.
Mr. Tom Dempsey spoke about the possible relief on senior taxes in view of increased inflation. Chair Pankowski spoke about an existing town program to defer taxes that include a lien on the senior's house, but it is one that seniors are not currently willing to take advantage of. Mr. Dempsey asked if the commission could get the tax assessor in for a future meeting to discuss these programs. Chair Pankowski also offered to come to the Mathers Center in the spring to go over the programs and explain the lien issue. The commission members were in agreement.
Awesome. Great. Any other changes to the minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve as per Peter Eder's edit and Tom Dempsey's edit? Thank you. Second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. And I'm going to pass this one down to our secretary as well. Thank you. Absolutely. So, per my conversation earlier, do you guys want to go now or do you want to go?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you guys are ready. Come on up. Great. Sorry. Say hello to Brittany Netherton and Elizabeth Maricola. They are here to present on behalf of the Darien Library programs and tech that help out seniors, and so that we can show everybody on TV 79 what they can take advantage of at the library. Thank you both so much for coming. We say hello to Kira. Unfortunately, hi Kira. She's sick today, but thank you both for coming in her place. Awesome. Come on up.
Where do you want us to
Your call, wherever you think, because we have cameras at every single location. Now, typically, I've seen people at this podium.
Do you want to
So,
sit next to each other, and I'll move?
Yeah, that's good.
great. Okay, yeah, come on up. If we have an extra seat, so we'll have you guys sit over here. Awesome.
Perfect, guys.
Sneak over a little bit, give them a little more room. Thanks.
Thank you again for having us.
Sure.
And it does send her intense regrets. She was really looking forward to being here. Hopefully she can join you again at a later date.
It'd be wonderful.
So I'm Elizabeth Maricola. I'm the Deputy Director at Darien Library, and I am just going to talk briefly about some programs that we have coming up for seniors or not for seniors, but that we think seniors might be interested in. In general, the library tries to work with our local organizations and make sure that we're offering a wide range of programs that appeal to a wide variety of interests. For many, many years now, we have sort of planned programs that might be interesting to seniors around the hours of the Mather Center so that we're not in competition with them, so that we're not pulling from the same audience at the same time. And we're really lucky because we have started to do tech outreach at the senior center once a month, I think. Yes. With Mary Beth Mason, who is one of our reference librarians. And so that has been going really well as well. And I think that the program director at the Mather Center is a former Darien Library employee, which is kind of
Is that right, Beth?
Caitlin.
Oh, Caitlin is.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Got it. Very
Program
cool.
Specialist, yes.
Nice.
We've known her for a very long time. She started working at the library when she was in high school. As a
Wow.
showrunner. So it's nice to have a former Darien librarian there as
Very
well.
cool.
Okay, so upcoming programs, and forgive me, I'm going to look at my phone because I have a list in my phone of things that might be
Well, you're of that
interesting.
generation.
I am of that generation. I apologize for staring down at my phone. I promise I am looking at notes. Okay, so at the end of February, we have African American History with Jeffrey Fletcher of the Ruby and Calvin Fletcher African American Museum. That's on February 28th at 3:30 in the conference room. And it is just a really fascinating journey through African American history, particularly in Connecticut. So just in time for Black History Month. And then also on the 28th at 7 p.m. So we have a tendency of having lots of great programs on the same day, so our parking lot is just a constant churn of people pulling in and out all the time, which is what we like to see. So the same day at 7 p.m., Unlocking the Potential of Generative AI and Chat GPT, Transforming Businesses and Personal Efficiency. So this is the first in what we're planning a series of programs about AI and its impact on all of our lives. I was just reading an article about how almost half of the images we see online nowadays are AI generated. And it's almost impossible to know that what you're looking at is an AI generated image, but a lot of the look at this beautiful house in a forest, and a lot of those sort of aesthetic photographs are now fake. And so sort of learning to recognize those and how we can use AI for good and how we can sort of save ourselves from the parts of AI that are less good. So we'll have a lot more programs about that at the library, but this one is coming up soon. And then on Sunday, March 3rd, we have Storytellers Memoirs in Motion. That's at 2 o'clock in our community room, so it's going to be a big program on a Sunday afternoon, and it's going to be a storytelling program. So we'll have people standing up and telling stories, which is a sort of time-honored tradition that we all love to take part in at the library. So those are 3 upcoming programs that we think your audience might be interested in. Brittany is the real star of the show here, though, because she has props. So I'm going to turn it over to her and all of the fun things that you can check out from the library.
Okay, perfect. So I brought handouts because I love a handout. What I wanted to share with you all is, like Peter mentioned, we have some underutilized equipment at the library that would be useful for people with visual impairments, people with physical handicaps, or learning disabilities. So I brought a couple of pieces of the tech to show you, and then I also have a handout that I can leave with you all. This is just printed from our website. We have an accessibility page on our website that lists out all of our accessibility focused items in the library.
And Brittany, what I'd love to do is to give that directly to our secretary so that can be part of our minutes. So you can simply have that attached to our minutes. That would be awesome for everybody to look at. Great.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
All right, so the first thing I want to show you all is a digital talking book machine. We have a new partnership with the Connecticut Library for Accessible Books that's based in Middletown. And they are affiliated with the National Library Service for the Blind, meaning that anybody who lives in the state of Connecticut, so not just in Darien, but anywhere, can come to the library and we can help them fill out an application to become a patron of the Connecticut Library for Accessible Books. What does that get them? It gets them accessible technology that they can use at their home in perpetuity, no renewals, it's completely free. One of the pieces of technology looks like this. So this is a reader, comes with a cartridge. The cartridge can hold up to, I think, 20 books at a time, and it will read the book out loud to the person. And so all you have to do is fill out a form, have somebody to sign off that you qualify to be given one of these, and they will send it to your house. They assign you a librarian that is your own personal librarian who talks with you about the types of books that you like to read, and they communicate with you anytime you need additional books, and they mail them through the mail. This can go straight through the mail, no problems. And on the back of the track list is a prepaid mailing label. Because this is affiliated with the National Library Service for the blind, there's no cost associated with mailing it either. And so what we have at the library is versions of this that you can check out for a period of time to try them out before you actually do the application process. We are trained on showing you how to use them as well. So anybody who is interested in that, and like I said, it can be people who have visual impairments, but it can also be kids who are dyslexic or people who have some sort of physical disability that makes it difficult to turn a page. In addition to the talking book machines, there are Braille readers that they can give out if somebody prefers Braille format. And there's also a version of it that you can use on your smartphone that functions like the existing library apps, but again, is completely free and there's no holds list, and you just use it on your electronic device.
Brittany, quick question on this.
Yeah.
Is it a doctor's recommendation? I mean, what is that part of that application?
That is a great question.
Because I'm thinking to myself that some seniors may not feel comfortable going to their doctor to say, hey, can you certify to the library that I cannot read this book? It's just a matter of, there might be a matter of pride, there might be a matter of other things.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if, on the accessibility, and of course it's national, so as a result, it's not like the Darien Library is saying you can't do it, but it's national.
Yeah.
My question is it a doctor's letter or what is it?
So, eligibility must be certified by one of the following: a doctor of medicine, doctor of osteopathy, and I can leave this
Okay.
application as well.
Perfect.
Ophthalmologist, optometrist, psychologist, registered nurse, therapist, professional staff of a hospital or welfare agency, like a social worker or a caseworker, a school psychologist or superintendent. So it's very broad, and it's very broad on purpose because they don't want to deny people
Right.
the ability to use this service, and they're not going to, I don't know if I'm allowed to actually say this out loud, but they're not going to challenge you
Right,
on it,
right.
because it's an underutilized service, and they really want people to take advantage of it.
So I'm now turning it over to Ally. Ally, assuming that you qualify under this, okay? Could a senior come to Human Services with this form, potentially? I'm saying assuming you do. I don't know if you do, okay?
Well, I'm a social worker.
There you go.
therapist.
So my question is, now that you do, could they come and talk to you about this form?
Well, I assume so, because if it says that I'm qualified to do that, I mean, I don't know what the
Oh, great.
qualification.
But I think maybe at least you could start, if in
Yeah,
fact,
sure.
all those people on 79, if you're not comfortable going to your physician, at least go to Human Services to talk
Yeah.
with Ally about it.
Absolutely.
Fair enough?
Sure, fair enough.
And can we have that for the minutes?
Absolutely.
Awesome,
Signature.
Brittany, a question.
awesome.
Before you put it away,
Oh,
Ray,
sure.
do you have to be an electrical engineer to know how to use it?
You
Or can
don't.
can you give us a demonstration?
That's right.
Don't ask me to help you use it.
Or me.
So the power cable lives in the back of the machine, so it folds up nicely. The buttons are made extra large so that they're easy to see, but they're also tactile, so you can feel on each button what it does. And there's Braille next to them as well, if you know how to read Braille. It also will speak out loud to you as you are touching it, to let you know sort of what you are touching. And in each of these, this is an example of the one that we check out to people. There's a large print getting started guide that tells you exactly what you need to be able to use it. And there's Braille instructions included as well. So
Super.
it's like 5 steps to be able to utilize this. And like I said, they will send you many cartridges and like as many books as you want at a time. So if you're somebody who just devours books and you need like 20 books on that cartridge and you're going to go through those, they'll do that. If you're somebody who reads a little bit more slowly, they'll do that as well.
Awesome.
Just
Other questions, Beth?
just to say, doctors that are eye doctors are encouraged to, when somebody reaches a certain level of vision impairment, to tell them about this program. If you didn't know that,
Ooh,
they do.
That's really nice.
We have 2 members. Mary Beth did a presentation at the senior center. We'll do another one again, but we have 2 members that utilize this equipment already. And I watched it. It's actually, you can't make a mistake because it doesn't call you a dummy, but if you push the wrong button, it tells you, no, next step. And we have a gal now who's participating in the book club, which we do with you, with a library as well, who now can participate in the book club because she has the device. So I just wanted, you need to hear a nice
That's
story about this
incredible.
too, because it
Yeah.
does really work.
So how do you put the books on the cartridge? Like,
Yeah, so the library in Middletown does it for you.
Yeah.
So once your application is sent in, they assign you your own personal reader's advisor, and that person communicates with you however you prefer to be communicated with. They learn your reading interests. They will talk to you about whether you want, like if you wanted every book in a certain series, they'll do that. They load the cartridge up and then mail it to you. So the person using the device never has to deal with the actual uploading of any of the content. It just arrives in your mailbox ready to go.
Brittany, correct me if I'm wrong, but because this is run through the Library of Congress, there's no copyright issues with books, so they have access to all of the books that you might want to read.
Yes, so they have access to books in a different way than the general public would have access to books.
how does this differ from streaming? I mean, I listen to a lot of books through Libby and Hulu and whatever.
Yeah.
This is similar. I mean, or does a book have to have an audio function to be on this, put on this?
That's a good question. So they have a product that is very similar to like a Libby or a Hoopla. And if an audio version doesn't exist, if I'm not misremembering, they will create one. And so there, I think, is a little bit of an embargo period after a book is published for them to be able to get that content recorded and available. But the really cool thing about this, if you are a Libby user or Hoopla user, is that if you have one of these machines and you are working directly with the Connecticut Library for Accessible Books, you can often get books that we might not have in the general library collection. So you can make all your friends jealous.
Totally.
That's fantastic.
All right, I don't know how much more time.
Go
we
for
have.
it. You're
Okay.
doing great. You keep going.
So that was an example of the technology that we loan outside of the library. I also brought an example of one of the pieces of technology we have inside the library, if I don't break it as I'm giving it out of the bag. So this is called a lyric reader. One of our patrons very, very kindly donated this to us, and we are extremely grateful for it. This will read any document that you place under it. It reads, I think it's 17 different languages, and it has to be plugged in to work, so I can't demo it for you, but it also is very, very easy to operate. It lives on the second floor of the library near the reference desk, and we have an 11 by 17 getting started guide right next to it so that anybody can walk up
and use it independently, or again, they can ask one of our librarians for help using it, and we're all trained in how to do that. And so this doesn't check out of the library just because it would be really difficult for us to replace it if something were to happen to it. But it is freely available for anybody to come and sit down. You can plug in headphones and listen to it, and it's very easy to read. Next to this, on the same table, we have what is called a Merlin Ultra reader, which was also a donation from a library patron. Her father received it from the VA, and after he passed, she wanted to put it somewhere where other people could take advantage of it. And it is way too large for me to have brought with me today. But basically, again, anything you put on its screen, it has a camera that then projects it onto a big computer screen, and you can zoom in up to like 25 times. You can change the contrast, you can make it black and white, or yes. So it will zoom in to where like the screen is just one letter of a document. It's a really, really incredible machine. So this one is good again for people who prefer to have the text read to them. But if somebody prefers to read on their own, they can use the Merlin. And it's important to note that the Merlin can be used not only for reading, but if you want to, let's say that you really love needlepoint and you're having a really hard time completing your needlepoint projects because your vision has started to get worse, you can actually just hold your crafts underneath the Merlin and have them projected larger for you and do those sorts of things too, which I think is really cool.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Where in the library is this equipment located?
So on the second floor where the reference desk is, we have an accessible technology center, which contains all of our Connecticut Library for Accessible Books materials. It contains the Lyric Reader and the Merlin Ultra. And there is a sign sort of hanging from the ceiling so that you can easily find that location.
Brittany, how do you see AI moving forward with this kind of equipment? So I'll do a confession on your wonderful hoopla and why I don't use it as much anymore. Because I would be listening to a book, next thing I know, I'm asleep. I missed 2 chapters, okay? And so the question is that with AI and with, things that will listen to you, okay, who might hear me snore and cut the thing, right? Do you see that kind of technology moving forward where there'll be more interaction with a senior as to how they interact with this kind of technology?
That's a really good question that I don't really know the answer to, because a lot of this equipment is very intentionally made to be not super tech savvy.
Got it.
Right? Like
Right.
It's made to have an entry level that anybody can pick up this machine and sort of like figure it out, and it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. So I don't think I see AI really getting into this sort of arena,
Okay.
at least not immediately.
Mhm.
But it will be fascinating. Also, if you don't know, you can set a sleep timer on Hoopla.
Fascinating.
And
Okay,
it
I did
will-
not know that.
Yeah,
That's helpful. So
yeah.
all those people on
So
TV
if
said we
you-
had the same problem
If
as
you
me.
know you maybe get about 10 minutes and then you're out, you can set that 10-minute timer and it will
isn't that
automatically stop
fascinating?
it.
Okay, thank you. Great
You're
tip.
welcome.
That is a great.
I live
I can
with
use
it.
Hoopla again. Great. Other questions for Brittany? Peter?
2 suggestions. Are you finished with your presentation, or do you have more in your bag, Brittany?
Let's see, It's like do I have Mary more Poppins tricks?
bag.
No, my Mary Poppins bag is empty.
2 things. You have a great rapport already with the Mather Center, and we really appreciate that. I think it would make sense, if you don't have it, to build the very same rapport with At Home in Darien,
Yes.
where we have the people that can't get to the senior center, and they're probably even more isolated.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing, if the 2 of you maybe could make an attachment. I mean, you may have started that already. What was the second thing? The second thing is we meet the 3rd Wednesday of every month. Can you, on an automatic basis, say, provide Joe, or I'd volunteer, with an activity program strictly for our seniors, for our olders, so that we could, in a very uniform way, report it every month, just like Chris Jones puts out the monthly bulletin, we could have that, because again, our audience are not just the people on this table who have some reach, but everybody that's watching us.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that, I think those would be, I don't want to give you extra work, but those would be, in my thought, very helpful suggestions. And
Good
we know
extra
it
work.
works very well with what Beth is doing.
Yeah. We
Cool.
would be very happy to do that.
Great. And I would give it to Peter. And Peter, if you want to delegate or anybody else wants to do that, that's great. Okay, fair enough? Whereas I don't want to be reporting as chair what's going on at the library.
I'll be
So,
glad to do it for a while.
well, awesome, as long as you want to. Okay,
Until I
that's-
age out.
Sounds good. Awesome. Great. Any other questions for Brittany or Elizabeth? Hearing none. Thank you both so much for coming. It was wonderful.
We both got applause. I'm gonna leave these.
Great.
I don't know how many copies it is, but share it with anybody who you think would be interested.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Pleasure seeing you guys. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so
coming.
much.
Absolutely. Yep, careful on these cords.
It's like a Chinese jump.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful
Good to see
day.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Well, that was fascinating. I don't know about you guys, but I learned a lot about what was going on at the library and the kinds of tech that's really cool there. So that was really great. Great. Now back to our regular agenda. Beth, what's going on at the Mather Center?
Well, I'm going to add something that the library does, comes to us twice a month, and one of those times, it's by appointment. They see Mary Beth,
Mhm.
so that if they have one-to-one questions about their own computer, or iPhones, or whatever, she helps with that, as well as the class that she does once a month. And we do the book club with them. So they're about to come back again with 200 new titles for us to start off again, usually in the spring. So just to let you know. And other presentations they want to make too. And we do actually advertise the accessibility area of the library quite often too, in our constant contact. Just to let you know, today we're having a focus group at 12:30. If anybody wanted to come in and give us some ideas or suggestions, please feel free to do that. We want to develop a survey out of this little first focus group endeavor that we're doing right now, to then send out by constant contact, so that all of the membership might be able to give us some input about things that they don't see that we're doing, maybe even say that they like some of the things we're doing, and things that they want to add and develop, because we have to do that periodically as well. And tomorrow, the Senior Medicare Patrol is coming, and SWAC, our area agency, to talk about scams. There's a one-page printout that everybody's taken, but it's going to be Peter's going to be there as well to talk a little bit about SWACA, which is nice. I went to a listening session at the Baldwin Center for our State Unit on Aging, so there's going to be information from there. So if you're around and you can come tomorrow at 12:30, it's going to be really informative presentation, because they're going to talk about the scams that are happening now, not only with Medicare, but specifically with Medicare, and some of them are quite sophisticated and nuanced. So it would be good to come to listen and to get the information, and also to ask questions. If you suspect anything, it's nice to know that you have somebody to talk to too, and that they're going to have to help you solve those problems and issues. So unfortunately, it's happening, so we just want to be able to protect ourselves. Just to let you know, in March, we always do honor our St. Patrick's Day folks, which becomes everybody in March. So we're going to have two events, one on March 6th, that we have the Cedric Sisters coming in to do a musical presentation for Irish patronage, and Judy's going to marry that with a lunch. And on the 15th, the Lynn Academy dancers are coming, so we'll have a nice performance for that. And actually on March 18th, Judy's going to do a corned beef meal just on March 18th, because we can't do both of those, so we're going to do, so it's going to be a lot of Irish stuff and a lot of fun for March. And just to let you know, in terms of people, the center is getting busier and busier, which is a good thing. And we actually, you'll see it in the minutes, we had 24 specials this month, which is meaning 24 programs that are not on our regular schedule. in addition to the 10 to 12 we have daily. So we're trying to meet that, our own goal of having the place be simultaneously busy, and we're trying to reach out to find out what other people's interests and things are. So there's lots of stuff going on in the center itself. We've been really blessed to have a very mild winter. So it was really only one thing that we had to cancel, and one day that the town actually, because the snow was so vigorous that we were not even here. So we've done really well for the month of February, but just to let you know that we're trying to expand, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing the focus group, to just give another plug on that, because it's important that we hear, you know, every 10 years is a different generation of senior, and we have a fair amount of, probably our average age is like in the 70s that come regularly. And then the 80s to 90s folks tend to stay. So the needs are different between those. And I also wanted to just highlight, because the caregiver support aspect of what I do is getting bigger and bigger. And the support group now is seeing between 25 and 30 different people, not every month, but 12 to 14 usually every month. This is almost all spouses that are navigating husbands or wives with cognitive impairment. So we need to keep, you know, looking at that phase of things too. So we are looking at doing more evening programming to open up specifically through the Alzheimer's Association, that we can do some more education programs as well. But the caregiver support groups are really important, and the gals that are in that group, mostly gals, have told me that there's not enough information out there that people know that I actually do this once a month, and that I'm available early morning to talk to people. And it's really there's so many resources now. So the support group that I only do once a month, there's so many support groups around. There's people that are, you know, attending 3 and 4 now because of the miracle of Zoom. People are going to the Live Well community as well. So there's so many resources, but there's a lot of people that are struggling at this point, because as we age, it tends to be that if we're going to be those folks that do have some trouble, even mild cognitive impairment, there needs to be a lot of support. So that's me.
Questions for Beth? Hearing none, Beth, can I get what you have here, the report, and is that your support list? That's
Yeah.
the monthly meeting?
Yeah.
Could I put that in the minutes as
Yes,
well?
absolutely.
Awesome. Pass these down to our secretary. Thanks so much.
And there's some March newsletters, just a
Okay,
few,
great.
if anybody
Perfect.
wants one.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth.
Welcome.
Ally, Human Services, what's going on?
Okay, so just a reminder that it's tax relief time, so everyone who is eligible in the previous year, you have to reapply every year. So you have until May 15th to apply for that. So the income level for the state program for elderly and taxpayers that are disabled, for a single person is $43,800. I got this all off the assessor's website. Married couples, it's $53,400. You have to show proof of income from 2023 and your federal tax income tax return. And for the local program, the Darien program, it's a little bit higher. Single person is significantly higher, 52,800. A married couple is 62,400. And then, of course, like Joe mentioned last time, there is the deferral program, which also you have to apply. All of these you have to apply by May 15th. The deferral program, the income level is substantially higher, 72,800 for a single person, and for a married couple, it's 82,400. Low income for energy assistance, as if you recall, in the fall I was saying how the federal funding was much lower. Last week, Governor Lamont authorized, how much was it? Where is it? $17 million towards energy assistance. Not sure how that's going to be distributed or whatnot. And most of these people, of our clients who have oil heated homes, who exhausted their benefits in the fall, are seniors. So waiting to hear how that's going to help, because many of them exhausted their benefits before Christmas or before the New Year. And so that was good news. Obviously.
It's been cold.
It's been cold, yeah. We called our emergency call list last week. It's the first time this season. Sometimes we feel like we call them like 10 times, depending on the winter. And as you guys know, they find it very comforting and supportive. So we're always taking names for that.
Awesome. I
Otherwise,
get that report
yep.
for our secretary. Thanks so much. So we can just attach these, as far as those are concerned. Thank you so much. Perfect. questions for Ally? Hearing none, thank you so much. Old business, Peter, what's going on?
Well, as you've noted, the session has started, the legislative session has started. I saw yesterday, for example, there's going to be some major activities, I think, to try to relieve the homelessness situation and to really start to come to grips with this tremendous gap of housing that we have in this state. And again, healthcare workforce and practice of nursing home staffing is also under scrutiny and is going to get a lot of scrutiny this year, which is justifiable, I think, so that institutions can't hide their expenses at the cost of somebody in care. So again, and like the fuel, I mean, that doesn't happen unless people like all of us and people watching get on the phone, or you see the person in the street and talk to them, the legislators, and say, this is important to us, how can we help you? So that's one thing.
Can I just interject on the housing part? That's probably
Absolutely.
the number one call that we get is on affordable housing in our department.
Number one call, yeah.
Definitely every week, if not sometimes, it feels like every day.
Yeah.
And it could be people that we know, or it could be just people calling.
And that's what our legislators should know. I mean, I'm having breakfast with Senator Duff on Friday, and, you know, and he's very aware of it, but for others, they say, oh, well, that's a Norwalk issue, right? It's not a Norwalk issue. It's an every place issue. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's important. Another subject, the CWCSEO, right? So CWSEO is the collaborative put-together organization they did when they got rid of the Department of Aging, right? Its leader has left. That's Stephen Hernandez, has left to go into private practice. So that job is open and it's posted. And I would suggest that folks concerned about elders maybe try to encourage appropriate people to apply for that position. Stephen Hernandez, I think, did a great job, but Stephen Hernandez's background was with young adults, right, was with children, right? And so he was put in to head up this organization. Well, guess where the knowledge and the focus was, as you would expect. But thanks to people like Michael Werner, they've had that focus where seniors are getting it. But again, here's an opportunity. If the legislature continues to lump everybody together, women, children, seniors, people from the Asian countries, equity, it's called equity opportunity. Right. Until they break it out, at least we ought to try to have a leadership that has that focus. So that's a suggestion. Okay. Beth talked about SWACA. The summit is going to occur. It's a toss-up between two dates, September 16th, November the 18th. They're going to make a decision in the next couple of weeks. And again, I encourage the Medicare abuse program is so important to go and hear that presentation. I mentioned as well, I think I'm getting, TaxAid continues, and TaxAid has been incredibly busy. I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago at the Darien Library on a Monday, we had 4 tax preparers, 2 of whom had COVID. Mm-hmm. So there were 2 tax preparers. And in that time between 1 and 7, those 2 folks did 38 tax returns. Mm-hmm. And almost every slot is filled. And again, you go to the website and register, almost every slot is filled. And the same thing is true is happening over at the Weed branch of the library, which is a walk-in, so you don't make an appointment. And people come and they wait 3 hours and they get their taxes done. So again, a very important service and really heavily utilized at this point in time. The last thing I want to mention is the loneliness and isolation initiative. It got a real boost right after our meeting in February, and that the governor is launching a state campaign. And For All Ages, who is kind of the linchpin in this, is starting to do listening sessions, okay? And they will be, I'll just read these to you for a point, in Torrington in February, in West Hartford in February, in Norwich in March, in New Haven in March, in Danbury in April, and in Trumbull in April, but that's where it stops. And what I'm saying is our state goes all the way down to Greenwich, and so what we'd really like to do is to make sure that that activity extends down here. And Beth, of course, right away raised her hand for the Mather Center, but it's even more important, I think, because it's a broader initiative, because it's intergenerational. So it's not looking at us olders in isolation, because we know youngers have as many isolation problems. So how do you work those two things together? So it's a major initiative, and again, in your contacts, I would encourage you to look out and search for it and begin to promote this and say, you know what, we should be doing it down this part of the state as well.
Are you thinking the Darien Library is a possibility?
Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
right. Make a lot of sense, given the auditorium there.
Absolutely.
I suggested it to them.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Great.
that's it.
All good?
Yep.
Great. Chris, what's going on at home in Darien?
Well, building on loneliness and isolation, I think our organization, we're going to continue to do what we do and do so well in terms of transportation, volunteer services, but increasingly focused on what can we do to address that loneliness and isolation issue. We're starting to look at more events, not only events where we might be able to generate some income to support us, but really events focused on getting individuals together. In addition to the amazing things that go on at the Mather Center, what about outside of that, the people who may not be going there? Compass Real Estate has volunteered. We're going to have a couple of events there. The first one on March 13th, which is a bingo late afternoon, where we will drive people to there, and it's a way to get people together. We've got a very good stable of volunteers that have continued to raise their hand. My concern is we can't utilize them. They shop for us, they do other great things, but Peter mentioned intergenerational. So it's an opportunity to get we have some kids from the Brunswick School who have volunteered to help. Wouldn't that be great to get an event together where they're all they're all mixing? And so we're going to do that. We've got a number of those scheduled. Building on the library, one of our board members, Marcia Clark, has a local author that we are going to be working on an event at the library. I know they do tons of events with authors, and Beth has authors coming in, but again, just a little bit of a nuance and a little bit different where we can get maybe our volunteers to help. Our out and about issue is being finalized, and it features this group here, the Commission on Aging, to kind of promote it through the eyes and interview of Joe Pankowski, the amazing leader.
Several people here have been mentioned in that article. I have had a preview, so great.
Yeah. So we're excited about that and to publicize that throughout the community. We've been doing an office refresh for months and months, which is a challenge for a nonprofit because I can't just go and get things and paint it myself and do things myself. I've tried, but we've got some new furniture. We found out that when went there and took down a wall, that the ground is actually uneven. So that brought up a few challenges. The town has been really gracious. We are different, separate from the town, but they've come in. They're building a smaller kind of counter, which gives us even more room, which is great. So they're doing that. But one thing, we have 2 new cabinets, and when I put one of them together, it wasn't level. I couldn't open it up. So kind of took some measurements, and through Tom Dempsey and his team downstairs, they built a little shim, basically, to go underneath it and create it. So it was great.
That is a synergy right there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great, and so really appreciate that. The opportunity, kind of going back to the events, we are looking to partner with more local organizations, so to continue to look outward and how we can do that on behalf of the seniors. So
one idea,
Yeah.
okay? I'm sitting there with Annie watching the Super Bowl, and I'm thinking, isolation, and an event that most people are going to watch whether they're football fans or not. So think about that, partnering with a local restaurant or somebody else, which would allow seniors and other folks to get together for an event like that they otherwise wouldn't be invited to a party of that nature? Hard to do on a Sunday night, I recognize that.
So that touches on something the board has been championing is the pursuit of an additional vehicle.
Right.
We have our handicap van that is amazing and takes wheelchairs. We have our sedan, which can take 3 people. But as we look to do some of these events, and we get people who raise their hand, I want to attend, but I don't like driving at night.
Right.
So we are looking at that and opportunities to do that. And yes, how about, Monday at 10:20 where business might be a little slow, where we can get 15 people to come at a specially priced meal.
Yeah.
Or an event like, I don't know, like when the Oscars are, but like the Super Bowl, you're right, for next year. How can we use that as that conduit to make that happen? So we're talking about that, and ideas like that, we'd love it anytime to hear from you.
I'm just thinking to myself of events that people who are at home watching it, right?
Yeah.
Who remember days when they would get together with their friends and watch it, and their friends may no longer be with them or unable to host them anymore, or things of that nature. It would be really cool to say, hey, can you come to, hey David, 10:20 post, things of that nature, right? And so I don't know whether that works given all the weirdness of a Sunday night event, but nevertheless, something like that to get people together, because that loneliness initiative is a huge deal. And I do think that young people are just as much, if not more so, affected by this than seniors, because of the fact that with online dating and things of that nature, you're getting scrolled past, and all of a sudden you're feeling that much more isolated, right, as a single person. So I think that kind of thing, when we can get multi-generations together and do things of that nature, would be huge. So, good stuff. Good stuff. Awesome. Any other old business?
I have some new.
Okay, new business. All right, we'll rock there.
New business. I think it would be a great thing for us to connect more with the Housing Authority.
Okay.
I have a very good friend who lives at the Royal, and there's been quite a to-do about snow clearing. They have not been clearing, they plow, but they leave snow behind the cars and they don't take it off. And she's got a handicap issue, and they always used to do this, and suddenly they got a less expensive snowplower, and it's not happening. That is one small issue. Another is the transparency of who is on their list. Their list on the website has been closed for at least 2 years. I tried to help someone get on that list and apply for housing at the Royal, which is, I guess there are different categories that are subsidized. And it just seems to me everybody should be allowed to at least apply. Why close the list? Even if it's 500 long, at least you feel like someone knows you're out there looking for this. And I'd love to know how it really works. I think that even the people who are there don't understand how it works, who gets which unit as they come up. And I did email Peter Bigelow, who is their treasurer, who thought it would be a great idea to, get together. Or, I mentioned I was on the Commission for Aging, and I just think it's something that would be good to hear how it works over there. It is, I know, operated by the state. That Darien isn't really involved in running it, but I think we should have some input perhaps, and maybe they need a tenant council so that they can have the Imaginaires is the group that operates them, and I think there's a little frustration between the residents and how things are operating.
Sue, question. Is the same situation at the Heights? Are these two completely separate or independent?
This is senior. I don't know about the Heights, but for our purposes, this is 55 and older.
Right.
For the Royal.
Is that the Heights as well?
The Heights.
There's seniors at the Heights, and yes, both their waiting lists are closed. I think the highest, they have different income brackets, so I think what people who've been getting into the Royal, this is my understanding, is the highest income level where they've had openings.
But
I don't know what those
but
numbers are.
isn't the Heights for everybody?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm saying both places.
It's
They have
the
different.
Royal is only
seniors.
55 and older.
Right.
It used to
Okay.
be 62
Okay.
and older, I'm not sure.
It gets younger and younger.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in any case, I just think it'd be valuable for us to understand exactly how it all works.
Absolutely.
So my question would be, you've got to contact Peter Bigelow. Can you reach out to him, okay, have him contact me, or tell me who, because I think the start of it would be somebody there presenting to us.
Right.
Which we would allow to
I know,
ask
I
questions.
mean, Joe Warren is the president, but I happen to know Peter better, so that's why.
Yeah,
you know.
contact Peter and say who would be willing, and we'll talk about what month that would be, don't know that yet, but who would be willing to at least come and talk to us?
Right.
Which would allow, we put it on an agenda for a future month. So anybody from the Royal could be at the meeting to ask any questions they want to ask as
Yeah.
well, okay? So it would be kind of like a multi-function meeting where someone would present, whether it's Peter or somebody else. We could ask questions, tenants could ask questions if they wish to. But I agree, focusing on the Royal makes the most sense at the start at least because of its 55 and older component, given what our mission, okay? But certainly it would apply as well at some level, since I think Imagineers runs both.
I was gonna say, you probably want someone from the Housing Authority and
Yes,
from
Housing
Imagineers.
Authority,
But
yeah.
and Imagineers.
Yeah.
Because it's not the state so much, it's Imagineers that manages both
Right, right.
places.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the town, I think people often come to us or to Human Services or other departments thinking the town runs it, and we don't.
Right.
You know, and we don't have any leeway or any, I wish we did,
Yeah.
you know, or any, back to the whole people calling
But-
us for
but-
housing all the time. I'm like, we don't have like a secret stash. I wish we did for
But
emergencies.
To
or-
me, it seems to me we could, ask for more transparency. I think
Yeah.
it all just seems very mysterious, who is, privileged and who isn't.
Yeah.
We might have Joe Warren talk to us, I don't know, we'll see, yeah.
Okay.
Myrna Acosta is the property manager for both places.
Okay, so I am tasking Sue to first talk with Peter. Think about the point Ally's raised as well. Is it a joint presentation between the Housing Authority and Imagineers? Would they even be willing to do it? All those kinds of questions come into play. But I'd love to at least get one, either Housing Authority or Imagineers, to get in here and to talk about this so we can start, as they say, opening that clam and seeing what's there, right? And so that we can be of assistance. But to these tenants, I would argue that there's also a reality of a tenants council or something else that they form, right? Because they're going to have a heck of a lot more power than the Commission on Aging, to be very blunt.
True.
Right.
It just feels like this is kind of something that's festering a little bit, and
Fair.
that, perhaps we could assist.
I'm glad to assist,
Getting some
absolutely. I'm saying on a
answers.
long-term basis, though, the reality is it's going to be a tenants association or something else
Of course.
that's going to hold their feet to the
I don't think we'd
fire.
be involved, but it just feels
Yeah.
like this is something we should be aware of, or,
Cool. So we'll talk offline about and see if it's Peter or somebody else, and we'll figure out what month they come. Great. Sir.
Many years ago, we were advocates for the tenants, this committee. Many years ago,
How many years ago?
10?
I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about it. We've talked about, especially when it's being built, like the Royal. No
Yeah.
question about that. If that's what you're talking about, yes, absolutely. When the Royal was
Right, that's right.
going on, we were definitely in that position where there was questions about, for example, the old town hall homes
Yeah.
had stairs outside, which
Right,
made
right.
absolutely no sense, okay?
Cement,
Yeah.
brick.
Cement, brick, all kinds of things
Walk-up
for
only.
seniors to fall and break stuff. So yes, absolutely, at the time of the construction of Royal,
Yeah.
but we've not taken a role since the construction of Royal for a lot of reasons, but nevertheless, I think we can
Well,
now.
I did
Fair.
personally. yeah.
Okay, fair,
Yeah.
absolutely, so there you go, so yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Future meetings, I have Jim Cameron, TV 79 is our presenter next month, okay, so we can see how TV 79 it does its stuff. I know that seniors are a major component of their viewership, okay, so that's a good thing to have Jim. I'm still trying to reach Tony, it is tax season, and so we've traded some voicemails, but I'm gonna try to get Tony to come in April if I can, okay? And Tony will make it being our tax assessor ahead of that May 15th deadline, right? And then perhaps I can also talk Tony into, fingers crossed, doing something at the Mather Center in April as well, if possible. So where we would tag team on that kind of issue relating to tax deferral and, and et cetera. So we'll see how it goes. Other new business? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn the March meeting? Thank you so much. February meeting. See you guys in March.